it truly does vindicate Virginia. It shows that not only was she not lying this entire time, even though, many people across multiple countries indicated as she was, that it does vindicate her, that she was telling the truth. And not only did Ghislaine mention that the photo was real, but she also mentioned that it was in the same house that Virginia had mentioned.
In a message released as part of the latest batch of the Epstein files headed Draft Statement sent by a G. Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein in 2015, she wrote, "In 2001, I was in London when I met a number of friends of mine, including Prince Andrew. A photograph was taken as I imagine she wanted to show it to friends and family." I spoke to Virginia Giuffre's brother, Sky, and sister-in-law, Amanda, about the developments on that photo.
The email itself is incredibly important. I think it's also really important to note that it truly does vindicate Virginia. It shows that not only was she not lying this entire time, even though, many people across multiple countries indicated as she was, that it does vindicate her, that she was telling the truth. And not only did Ghislaine mention that the photo was real, but she also mentioned that it was in the same house that Virginia had mentioned. So it's a moment where we're really proud of our sister. I think that it is a vindicating moment, but we also want to use this as a moment to remind people to believe survivors. This is a really strong moment for us to take a look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what have we missed this entire time? Why didn't we believe this truth teller?
Amanda, how does it contrast with the account given by Andrew, the former prince, to this programme, when he said he was sure he wouldn't have gone upstairs in Ghislaine Maxwell's house when it was him, but it might not have been his hand, and that he had no recollection of meeting a woman who looked like Virginia Giuffre or who was Virginia Giuffre?
Every time I'm confronted with what Andrew says, I'm always reminded of this quote that Virginia says. He knows what happened, I know what happened, and I know that only one of us is telling the truth here, and I know that that's me. And it just further solidifies that she was so solid in her conviction in the truth that, it just rings in my ear every time I hear how his accounts, every single time he speaks, are discredited. His story seems to fluctuate every time he tries to explain what happened or what didn't happen. And we're seeing right now in the files further incriminating photos and documents, against Andrew. So it just furthers that moment of we dropped the ball and we should be reopening an investigation against Andrew.
I wonder, can you comment from your side as the family on the pace of events? Because hers was a very lonely voice for a very long time. And now, to be honest with you, our heads are spinning at the pace of revelations coming from the Epstein papers. What's it like to be you receiving this pace of information?
It's a whirlwind. I think this moment I felt a moment of such overwhelming emotion because I wish that she was here to see this. She fought so hard and so long against all odds, and she still was just so... She was so strong for everyone, not just for her, but for her survivor sisters and every single survivor who has been discounted. And so this moment, it's a bittersweet moment because we're proud of her and her accomplishments, and finally I think the world is really beginning to see the truth, and so we're proud of her, but we miss her greatly in this moment because she should be reveling, in this moment.
Thank you for gathering your thoughts for this interview. And I know we've spoken before, it's important to keep going, but it is also possible to stop. If you give me the signal, we'll do that.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I think if Virginia could go through all that she went through, I think we could do this. We can do this for her. Well, and it's owed for her and every single survivor. Yes,
and the permission to continue is coming from you. So let me ask you some more questions. There is a second woman has come forward. Her lawyers claim she was trafficked in her 20s for sex with Andrew. And what kind of impact is that having to know that another police force is looking into those allegations, Skye?
Well, I think it's very important to start with the fact that this has already been something that was brought up before. So we can't let her starting point be where Virginia's starting point was. We have to allow her the space to come forward, just like so many other survivors out there can come forward. And so how brave of her to come forward, how brave of her to speak out if she has the ability to do so. And of course, you have the basis of you're not guilty, and, until proven otherwise. But the reality is if she has substantial evidence to present forward to the police, then it needs to be thoroughly investigated, and we need to believe survivors. We need to start with that basis of, hey, let's start here and not give all this resistance to have to make her come all the way forward. Let's give them a little bit of grace here so they can come forward feeling like they're going to be believed and not like they're going to be feeling like they're criticized.
On the survivors, Skye, many have said they feel the redactions have allowed for their identification. They've been non-redactions. And do you accept that some people want the material removed from the site? I've seen on my social feeds lots of content creators using photographs with women as objects from these files. I wonder, do you support calls for them to be removed, these photographs, until the redaction is better organised?
There are no survivors, not one that I know of, that didn't want these files released. They wanted these files released. Now that the files are released, this isn't a case of, oh, well, you can't pick or choose. This is not that kind of case. This is our own government. Our government in the United States, and the DOJ and Pam Bondi violated the law. They unredacted names of survivors. My sister's name's redacted, and there are hundreds of survivors' names that are unredacted. And that is a complete violation of their security, of their privacy. It allows those rich and powerful men to potentially come after them. This is not justice.
So in the millions of pages that have come out has been the name of a former peer of the realm, a lord who today renounced his access to the House of Lords. He removed himself from the House of Lords. On the 4th, he did that. And I wonder, can you tell me what he should do next, Peter Mandelson?
He needs to travel here and give testimony in front of our Congress.
Finally, Skye, do you think the British Prime Minister got the message in the way that you wanted it delivered 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago? He appointed Peter Mandelson as UK ambassador to the US, knowing that he had continued a relationship, a friendship, a connection with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction.
Well, I bet you they're regretting that decision now. I mean, I don't know what the circumstances were around that time, but if it is in fact that they knew that there were some underlying issues, it just shows to you how far this goes. And unfortunately, we accepted that as a society for too long. And I think this is the new wave of society that says we want something different. I think the people have spoken. I think that if you continue to speak, we can hold these people to account, including the Prime Minister, for those actions. He should answer for those. He should say, hey, why? I mean, those are the right questions to be asking.
Skye and Amanda, thank you for talking to Newsnight.